Australia is going to begin to use their military to force people into their quarantine camps. Here's them admitting it.
I contacted the Prime Minister last night. We are grateful for the support of about 20 ADF personnel as well as army trucks to assist with the transfer of positive cases and close contacts and to support the communities.
So they're telling that they're going to use the ADF. What's the ADF? It's the Australian Defence Force. It's their military, and they're using their army trucks to send people that are positive cases, but also close contacts, which would be very difficult to be able to determine who's a close contact. But remember, Australia has these quarantine camps they built, and it seems like it's an awful lot, and some of them weren't going to be completed until 2022, which means to say they knew they were going to keep using these camps for the foreseeable future. And also the fact that we've seen videos over there where they were straight just telling people that have received a negative test that no, the police are here, you received a positive test, come with us right now. So a lot of people are calling Australia China 2.0 or New China, but let's just call it for what it is. Australia started as a prison colony, and it looks like it's going to become a prison colony in the very near future, because let's rewind this a little bit and see what's been happening over in Australia that you probably weren't aware of. Is you're seeing, like over in Melbourne, where there's been anti-mandate, anti-lockdown protests for a very long time with tens of thousands of people, because you see this protest here. You saw a different protest days earlier where it's the same thing. They even have the no step on snake flag as well, which is over in Australia. That's something that you never thought you were going to see. And also you're looking at this other worldwide freedom rally where this is in Australia, but look how many people are there. Like, don't you think that the mainstream media should tell you that this is happening right now, that there are lots of other people that don't want to abide by the mandates? Because let's be very clear, Australia has no Second Amendment. You've seen the protests where they're getting hit with the, it's like the foam version of OC spray that is apparently much worse on you. They're using water cannons. They're using horses. Like, it's crazy how much little the Australian people have to defend themselves, and yet they're still turning out in these large numbers when they are facing the worst mandates and the worst restrictions that we see in pretty much the world right now. Because listen to this guy from New South Wales talking about how the unvaccinated have no rights in that country.
People who are doubly vaccinated, of course, have certain rights laid down under the roadmap for it. People who are not doubly vaccinated will not have those rights.
And it's not just that. It's this person over here saying that everybody should stop online shopping. What?
Please, when you open your front door, just think for a moment. Do you really need to go out? And also, and I'm a great online shopper, could you think about whether you need to do online shopping this week? Do you need those people out in the community delivering packages and things?
So nobody should be out. Whether they've had it or they haven't had it, everybody should be locked down. And now you see this crazy thing where a lot of this stuff would have been considered a tinfoil hat theory 1 year ago, but now you have Australia talking about how they're sending people to your doorstep to give you a vaccination.
And what was so incredible was these teams are not just knocking on doors anymore. They're actually carrying eskies and vaccinating at the door. They're seeing how many people in that household, and they're vaccinating everyone who's eligible in that home while they knock on that door. And that's what we have to do.
And that's what they've, quote, had to do. They have to go to your doorstep, count the people inside, and give you a medical procedure. Absolute insanity, because you see this over here from their 9 News, and this is Australia, where they say, you know, people that are unvaccinated, they're banned in Queensland from nightclubs, pubs and restaurants, theaters, galleries, museums, hospitals, which is crazy, and prisons. So you can't go to, I guess it's to be a visitor, but you can't go to visit a prison if you're unvaccinated. Aged care facilities, you can't see your elderly family members, and also outdoor entertainment, because we all know whether it's a BLM rally, a college sports ball game, or anything that's outdoors, it just, the science hasn't said that we really spreading it outdoors. But if you're unvaccinated, you can't go and enjoy outdoor entertainment. But if you are vaccinated, they're saying you have the freedom. You're getting a freedom after you undergo the state-sponsored medical procedure in Queensland. They say you can go to pubs and clubs, cafes and restaurants, you can go see a movie, go to a festival, you can go to a wedding, a dance floor, a funeral, and a hospital. So you can't get medical care in a hospital if you haven't undergone their preferred medical care. It's pretty insane, because that's not the only thing that's happening over there. You saw this article from the Daily Mail talking about how thousands of Australians with unpaid fines for breaking COVID rules have their homes seized, banks' accounts raided, and licenses canceled as the government chases $5.2 million, which is absolute insanity that if you don't do what the government tells you, they take your home. That's it. That's the point. They take your home unless you're doing what the government tells you to do. You're going to end up in one of these quarantine facilities now because they say they're using the military, the ADF, the Australian Defence Force, to force you inside one of these quarantine villages. It's crazy because even from the New York Times talking about how Australia is betting on the remote quarantine, here's what I learned inside, where they actually visited one and they actually lived there. You're seeing this other video footage of an aerial shot of how large this facility is, which is crazy. Like, look how many units are over there, and they say if you only need to stay there for 14 days, how many people are being rotated in and out of these facilities that you need this many units in 2022 or the other years that they're building them? It almost doesn't make sense because you're looking at what they call the Howard Springs. I just typed in Howard Springs, Australia, because they have this facility. They say it's a municipality in Australia, but the link is Howard Springs Quarantine Facility. And the crazy part about this, when you look at this article, it says Howard Springs Quarantine Facility in the Darwin, Northern Territory, Australia. You look at, they say, attracting and maintaining staff in remote locations can be difficult. Long hours away from loved ones, lack of facilities, and little to do when the sun goes down makes the fly-in, fly-out lifestyle of many mining and resource industry workers unattractive. Unattractive. With housing and strong demand and top end, the project envisioned on-site village that not only offered a comfortable respite from daily construction work, but a place to call home. So you mean to say that this facility was likely originally conceived to build a facility, like a housing area, like a little housing complex near a remote mining facility, saying, okay, yeah, let's have some plus stuff to do at night. Let's have a little village, some restaurants. That's cool. And now it's become a quarantine facility because they go on to write, about 850 people are currently able to quarantine at the former Howard Springs mining camp on Darwin's outskirts. The camp has been renamed the Center of National Resilience and houses Australian repatriated from overseas. They're required to undertake 14 days of mandatory supervised quarantine at their own cost. So they're calling it the Center of National Resilience. And oh my gosh, the Center of National Resilience sounds great, but then it's saying, oh, you have to have 14 days of mandatory supervised quarantine. And you saw that other video, I can't find it anymore, of the guy that's in a hotel that's been forced there for 14 days. And he hears his neighbor, this is in Australia, shouting and screaming, you can't keep me here, you can't keep me here. I've done 14 days. And he's shouting and screaming. And the guards in there are saying, we're going to have to mace you. We're going to have to mace you. Like, you got to calm down. And the guy recording inside his hotel is like, wow, this is crazy. Hopefully they don't do it to me because I'm day 10 and I haven't seen the outside for these 10 days. Hopefully I get out in 14. And also you look in this video footage it keeps on having all the stamps over the top and I can't find the original, but listen to what's happening to this guy.
Peace of mind, didn't get a text message that I'm positive or negative, and about a week after I've got police calling me, so I don't know, maybe it's a mix-up.
He says it's a mix-up because he said he received a negative test and the police are coming to his door with all of his medical staff saying he had a positive test and now they need to ship him away to who knows where. Because you're looking at this video from inside the quarantine camp and this is just sad. This guy on TikTok recording his experience.
We're just waiting patiently to be fed. It's like when you shake the bag of dog treats and the dogs come running. We're all just outside waiting.
Isn't that crazy? He sits there saying, it's like he feels like a dog when the dogs hear the dog treat, or the cat hears the cat treat, and they're just waiting to be fed. He's just sitting there with no freedom inside a supervised quarantine camp for at least 14 days, waiting to be fed and feeling like a dog. It's crazy right now. In this other video, I can't find the original. They keep on pasting their things over the TikTok and all their stuff, but the video of what they believe is a Port of Brisbane quarantine camp, and they say, who is it being built for? Because it just has two large gates, and they said they're electrified. I can't find any evidence of that, but it's like not a lot of units inside, but they had like a basketball hoop. It looked like there was a boxing heavy bag too, and it's like, who are they building it for? Because it doesn't look like a prison, and yet it has gates like a prison would have. And this isn't just Australia right now, because you're looking at their neighbor New Zealand, and look at this woman gleefully talk about how you need to be having your jab.
It's actually really straightforward. If you've got a vaccine pass, you can do everything. Basically, that's it.
And I can't imagine anybody so gleefully announcing that you have no rights until you do what I tell you. Like, look at it's insane to me right now that they're just reselling you your freedoms that you once had. And I don't know necessarily what the Constitution of New Zealand gives their citizens, but it had to be something different than adhere to the government guidelines or you can't enjoy freedom. It's nuts. And just know that we say what's happening in Australia, we're seeing what's happening over in China, we see what's happening over in Canada, and seeing it kind of trickle into places like California, New York, where San Francisco, Seattle, and New York City have a lot of what Australia did a couple months ago, or even just 1 month ago, because now you're seeing from the New York Post talking about a Long Island school district has now separated parents by their vaccine status at student shows, where just because you think it's crazy that they're implementing the military to ship you off to a quarantine center doesn't mean it's not gonna happen here. Because I had that other video right now, I'll probably link it down below, of when they built a quarantine facility on an Indian reservation, and people are very upset. They started getting, citizens started getting angry at the security over on the at the Indian reservation. I don't think that's right to be getting angry at the hourly worker that's just standing guard. Talk to your politicians as to what this actually is, and figure out what it is before you start getting irrationally angry at your neighbor. But the idea that a lot of this stuff trickles down and comes over to America slowly, and you got to wonder, if it happens in Australia, is it going to happen in China? Will it happen in Canada? And once it starts happening in New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco and Seattle and Portland, when will it start trickling over? And when will people start to say enough is enough? And when will people start to realize that they're not being told the correct things that are happening in the world right now? That you have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people protesting these mandates, protesting these lockdowns, and yet when you turn on the television, all it's saying is, hey, look, these are the things you should believe. Isn't it crazy how when the one guy was pointing out the idea that if you tell me your take and your beliefs on the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict, I can correctly predict your take on lockdowns, vaccine mandates, on whether or not Biden was a better choice over Trump. And it's this thing of these people aren't having independent thoughts, looking at stuff and being very nuanced and different from each other and just having different values and ideals. They're being programmed by one mainstream media source, one source on social media that algorithms a way to tell you, to force you into an echo chamber, and all these celebrities that are being paid by these same multinational corporations that are telling the same thing across the world. It's this bizarre world of they're being programmed to echo the same things they were told, just like an NPC in a video game, and I'm sick of it. So if you want to hear more stuff like I have to say, make sure you subscribe down below, but also share my videos, share my content, let other people know what's really going on in the world, because other people won't let them know. And this is kind of a nice neutral way of saying, hey, gently letting people know, not saying, hey, you're being dumb, you're being foolish, I can't believe you blame the mainstream media. No, I try to just give them just a very good bird's eye view of what's happening in the world, what the other facts are, and what people aren't being told. Because I think if they were more aware of what was going on in the real world, they would have more rational thoughts, and they wouldn't just blurt out NBC lines and dialogue that they were told by their corporate overlords. So as always, thanks for dropping by. If you can, give me a like or give me a share. Give me that decoy duck emoji in the comments. It really seems to help me out. But thanks for dropping by, and hope to see you in the next video.